kidding.
Yeah.
Well, the house is in my name, so ticket probably would have went to me.
Let's try. We might not be on YouTube. It's just gonna be the way it's gonna be. We good then?
You're on YouTube.
How much I appreciate that. So here we are. We got some people joining in. We'll give them a few minutes here.
See who joins up in here.
Yeah. You don't? How much I appreciate that. So here we are. We are live for our special show tonight with that man, Mr. Colin Style, joining us from the lovely Sunshine State of Arizona, not FLA. I want to welcome you to the Michigan BMX Podcast Show, live from the Kebco BMX studios here in the busy metropolis of Heartland, Michigan. Tonight, we bring you Friday Night Live tonight. I'm going to be your host along with Paul and Melissa. Paul is coming in remote along with Colin. He is over in the Bertucky land of Michigan. Colin's coming in from Arizona, and Melissa's across the desk from me. So tonight's show's a little different than our regular format, and I want to welcome you guys all in that are coming in right now. We are depending on you guys to bring us lots of questions in the chat room. And if you've got them and you want to send them in via text to my phone, if you know my number, go ahead.
Sorry, Colin's distracting me.
As he always does. And if you have questions, you can text them to me, send them in, whatever you want to do. However you do, but we're going to count on you guys. We might even take some phone calls. I don't know yet.
The Ronies are on Twitch.
Ronies, our one Twitch follower, is on. He is on. All right.
Twitch.
Yes. Paul, say hi.
Damon's on.
Hey. How's everybody doing?
There he is. Just finished up his PB&J sandwich.
Roman Remington.
Yeah.
Mr. Roman. Roman Remington.
Yes,
we might watch that again. Colin, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
There he is. The man, the myth.
It's not delivery. It was DiGiorno. After dinner tonight. Yeah.
Yes. Well, Paul, we had a repeat of Wednesday night because the little one came home, so we had a repeat of the same. Are you going for a terrifying look, Colin?
I'm trying to do like the old Conan O'Brien in the year 2000 when you used to have the microphone or the
My
flashlight.
gosh.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
I'm using my flashlight, also known as an iPhone.
Also known as a tape measure. Also known as
There's
everything.
There's a thing about Area 51 where they're saying that the moon landing was a hoax,
Yes.
or something like that. There's more computing power in this iPhone than there was in what we had to land a dude on the moon.
I can believe it.
Oh, yeah,
Amazing,
100%.
You know what blows me away is, speaking of that, how, when you think right now how we make phone calls, all the way back then, they were able to talk to them in this spaceship.
There was a delay, though.
I don't care. That's still crazy. They talk to somebody on the moon from here in whatever year that was. I probably should know that.
Speed of sound versus the speed of light.
Yeah, so They had technology that they could talk to people in space in '69.
Yep.
And people are worried right now that they can't track you.
Well, there is no such thing as privacy today.
Like, hey, I'm against the government, but I'm going to make some posts on Facebook that GPS.
Nobody will see.
Nobody will know. GPS collects everything here. I'm anti-government.
Live from Tempe, it's Friday.
There we go. All right, my man.
We're already off the rails. We're talking government conspiracy. I grew up in the 3-2-1.
Yeah. So how many launches did you see?
Oh, it's hard to count. I was at the first ever space shuttle launch.
Were you really?
I missed
That's impressive.
in '86 when the Challenger blew up. We went outside after, but we weren't actually, because I grew up in Satellite Beach.
That's not spooky.
I grew up 20 miles south of Cape Canaveral in the area code 321. So if you ever see my
Oh,
321 area
goodness.
code, you know they're from the Space Coast because it's 321 liftoff.
Okay.
So that's where I came from. And so when I was going through school, we would always have our fire drills around the space shuttle launch. Fire drill would go up, space shuttle would take off, you'd see it, you see the little flash, you see a flash after about 45 seconds, a minute after it took off, and you could kind of see two little specks of the rocket boosters coming down if you look real hard. Bell would go off, we'd be walking back in, and then you would start to hear it. So it was about a minute and a half after you saw it, we'd start to hear it. That's how far away I lived in 321.
Oh, wow.
There,
Wow. We talked about that.
We went outside after. The elementary schools north of us, they all got the fire drill that day, and they saw it blow up on takeoff. We were still in our classroom, and a teacher came in and said,
I know we were watching it.
Yeah, we were watching it.
Yeah, I watched it up here in the 810.
810.
That's the Flint. That is
the
AKA
313.
Dayton Family's own 810.
Does 810 mean dirty water?
Too soon.
It did
Too
for
soon.
the last few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
That's
maybe
all I know about
Fortunately,
Michigan
I don't think
is
Right.
kills people.
I would have thought some of that stimulus money would have had something in there to finally fix that.
It's 1,400 pages. It could be in there.
All right.
That's like my grandfather's plumbing, dude.
You know what I just
Yeah,
realized?
man, that stuff is old. It's buried. It runs under where the shops used to be and stuff. So that's a bad mess.
We have two of the biggest storytellers. I didn't even. Colin, you may have met your match, by the way. Like, Paul,
I'm down.
I'm
talking 3-2-1.
so-
Down the 810.
so Paul and I will take.
We got bros in different area codes.
Paul and I will take the 2-hour drive over to Rock City from around our area, and I don't know if I get a word in sometimes.
Oh, come on now.
You probably don't even have to listen to radio.
Yeah, that's right. Uh-huh.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
It's funny because his niece that races and anyone else that's piled in the truck, they get in and they're like, headphones, because Justin and Paul are going to start talking government and other BS. All right, so let's start this. First of all, I want to thank you, Colin, for jumping on and coming back and joining us. Thanks again. I really appreciate it. And
No problem, man.
we always have some.
Nothing else to do. It's Arizona.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
you know
I can't
what?
think of
I
anything
saw
else to do.
I saw what nothing had to do in that pump track you were riding the other day.
It's more a bike park, not
It's-
quite a pump track.
It's really sweet. We don't have anything quite like that out here. We got a really nice pump track, but nothing like that. That was really cool. But again, thank you for jumping in and doing our Friday Night Live, which we're going to do until pretty much our quarantine is lifted. So, quarantini. Melissa and I, we don't believe in that kind of stuff. We just,
It's on your side.
we just roll right here. We bring it in nice and filthy. Here it is, right
Hey,
there.
You guys, you get 6 feet apart. You're too close.
Well,
We live
we live
together.
together, so it's okay. So, and besides, this is very antiseptic, is what I've been told.
Yeah, man, I've been hand sanitizer, and anytime I go to a medical office, they always have the hand sanitizer there. I got my alcohol, just put it on my hands, rub it up, make sure I'm clean.
They're not
paranoid
they're not
to go
sticky
get my
by now.
What's that, Paul?
I said I'm paranoid to go get my mail. Yeah, they say it carries on paper and cardboard, So,
the mailman's got corona.
Hey, yeah, well, Colin's close to being the mail guy. He's out there ripping for, what is it?
Amazon.
Amazon, thanks.
Yeah.
Delivering smiles.
Delivering. Interesting thing. Do you know why the smile goes from A to Z on the Amazon logo?
I do.
Everything
I
from A to
do.
Z.
He knows.
I knew that already.
We pretty much keep this part of the state in business.
This
for Amazon.
neighborhood, at
Yeah,
least.
for sure. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come right back, and we're going to get to it. We're going to get back on the BMX subject here. You guys hang tight. We'll be right back.
Hey, Metro Detroit, it's time to experience the coolest store you've never been to. Magic Motorsports in Waterford. Discover over 40,000 square feet of savings. From motorcycle parts, accessories, and service to hoodies, coats, jackets, and sunglasses from Oakley and Spy, and so much more. Looking for that perfect gift? You'll find it here. Get big discounts on everything every day. We also carry the area's largest selection of BMX bikes and accessories. And we change motorcycle tires while you wait. Magic Motorsports on Dixie Highway just west of Telegraph in Waterford.
All right, we are back. Welcome back. Colin, say something so they know you're there.
Do you know if Magic Motorsports has any Corona teen specials going on yet right now?
No, they do not. They
I would
don't.
think everything would be like discounted. You're going to be Corona'd at home. Might as well get some cheap stuff for your bikes and motorcycles and gear.
I don't know if they're even, it's a sad thing. I'm not sure if they're open.
Well, I think they're allowed to be
what?
Yeah, I don't.
because they're
I'm not
a bike
sure.
repair shop or
Yeah,
that kind
I
of
think
thing,
they can be, but I'm not 100% sure if they are.
I hope they paid up front for their commercial that you just had there, because they might not have money to pay for the commercial later.
Well, they're pretty much paid for the year.
Okay. Hey, Paul's back. That was a quick smoke break.
It was.
Yeah, I was trying to. Yeah, it is what it is.
Smoke him if you got him.
He
Yeah,
just says,
well,
it is what it is at this point. It just
Yeah, I
is.
gotta wait for the truth commercial to take a real smoke break.
Yeah, that one's the minute-long one that always gets us in jail at YouTube. You got to tell Damon's on, right? You got to tell Damon he's got to do a new one for us because it always gets pinged for copyright.
Damn.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
rough.
they're on it like Blue Bonnet, man.
All right, so
Isn't it like butter?
yeah,
Yes.
Everything's better with Blue Bonnet on it.
Really?
Yeah, that's what the commercial told me in the 80s.
Okay. So
All right.
hand sanitizer with blue bonnet on it. Got it.
Your YouTube's working too, by the way.
Is it all right? So part of the we got Colin on here for us. We want to talk a little bit, not just specific to the Michigan BMX scene, but we're going to kind of talk about all topics here. So one of the topics we wanted to bring up, we want to kind of chat, get Colin's perspective and Melissa's and Paul's and any of you guys in there in the chat. You guys got questions, you got comments, let us know. But Colin, what do you see that's going to happen to the BMX scene, the BMX realm, everything, all knowing BMX after the Corona, everything calms down? How long do you think that's going to be? What do you think that's going to look like once that happens?
I hope I'm wrong. I really, truly hope I'm wrong, but things aren't going to look too good. I mean, it's going to be rough. It's good. I don't know. I don't want to think about it too much. I've been thinking about it a lot, but I mean, Corona team is going to ball stuff up. The national sanction's going to be hurting for dough right now. Are people going to start racing locally? Maybe, perhaps that could be the silver lining, is that more people race locally because they don't have the money to go nationals. Because the thing is, ultimately, a lot of people aren't working right now. And a lot of people, sorry to tell you this, but if you don't work, you don't get a paycheck. You don't get a paycheck, you can't buy stuff. You can't spend money. You can't. And then if a bunch of people aren't having a paycheck, then they're not buying stuff, which keeps other jobs going. Like right now, I deliver packages for Amazon. I guess I'm considered essential because I deliver stuff. Hopefully I can stay essential, but I mean, is there going to be a time when I don't have any packages to deliver because nobody has any money to buy Amazon stuff, so I can deliver the smiles there? I'm trying my best to deliver smiles. Hopefully people still have money to deliver smiles, but I mean, it's going to be, we'll know a lot more in a month from now. Rail the Berm, Brad decided to kind of filter off of that because, him and his wife own a hair salon and they're shut down. So he's like, dude, like, Rail the Berm's cool and all, but I got to make sure I can make my house payment. I got to figure out something there. So he's like, yo, I got to put Rail the Berm on the back burner, so on the front burner I can keep my house and do everything else.
Yeah, it's kind of essential. Yeah, you definitely need a studio.
Definitely kind of essential, So it's like a lot of people are going to put BMX on the back burner. I know that, riding your bike is fun and it's awesome and all, but, eating is more important than being able to ride your bike. I know that's hard to believe, but, a PB&J, right, Paul, can go a lot further than perhaps, your bike can get you doing a little air out, So I think Paul, for people who don't know, Paul was eating a PB&J before we started taping.
Dinner
I think
time.
he's just training for quarantine. Really,
True story.
I remember hearing stories. Greg Lanthorn won some money at the World Championships in '87, and he decided to go on a trip. And he's like, I got a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, and a jar of jelly. I got to make it last all week. So he was prepping for it,
Gosh.
So,
For those that don't know, Todd Lanthorn is
Greg Lanthorn.
Or Greg, sorry.
Greg Lanthorn, he's GL, still races BMX. He won 1987 Worlds. He was on the podium behind Eddie King and Gary Ellis, the World Championships in Orlando. And he currently works for Sparky, Sub Rosa.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He was, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Because Sparky's distribution and then Sub Rosa and Shadow, it's all the same company, but he's like a project or a parts manager there. And, he's lived the BMX lifestyle for a while, and he understands, man, a loaf of bread, jar of peanut butter, and jelly will take Paul over through the whole next week.
Yep. Yeah, that certainly would.
So
what are things going to look like when the whole Corona scene's done?
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's scary to think about. I mean, is it going to be a month until we can start going back outside again? Is it going to be 2 months?
Right, that's the most important factor is longevity of it.
Yeah. I mean, if we could end this in 2 weeks, everything's going to come back in a month and things will be okay. If it's going to be 4, 6, 8 weeks, BMX could be totally screwed, especially all the northern tracks. They can only race 6 months out of the year, You guys know up there in Michigan, you have a short season. Well, if you lose half that season, you might only have 2 months worth of racing.
Yeah.
Can local tracks make enough money in 2 months to be able to sustain to 2021?
Well,
I don't know.
I think, I think you and I kind of touched on this a little bit. This year, this happened early enough that tracks don't have like the money already set out for concessions and trophies, a lot of your upfront costs. Now I do
lost it yet,
and so that hasn't been lost yet. But that is, you figure you're going to try to go if this year's wiped off. You're looking at another 15, 18 months before you start up. That is a long time, and depending on your utilities, if you're in contract for your internet and things and phones and whatnot, that could be a pretty big draw. You have a very good point. So once it is scary because I hear that we had talked about that, and there are tracks I 100% believe would not be able to make it. And a lot of it has to do with that they won't have those big races this year, right? So they won't have a state qualifier, or maybe it's their year for a Gold Cup, or maybe they had some other things. I know, like out on the West Coast, you guys got the in California. What is it called? The 4-track shootout thing. The big deal.
The 4-star series.
You know, something similar to that. Like they might not have that to get them through, and you know that's kind of scary. You know, hopefully. Not that we're big trendsetters here in Michigan, but maybe they can, you know, kind of follow suit, band together, and help each other out. I mean, this is the time that, you know, that can be a big thing. We can help each other out if that happens. We got a question?
Oh, well, Dennis just brought up a good point. He said, you know, talking about the racing, just staying on top of your conditioning is going to be really restricted. Even on top of that, you know, you're going to be sitting around using rollers, and if you even risk heading outside. So even getting back into racing in a couple months, like how people are going to come out of hibernation, if you will, not quite as conditioned as they went into it.
That was Dennis, Yubera. That's Dennis Yubera, the track operator from Richfield Park, where Paul is actually the president there. So I didn't really even thought down to a level as far as a rider, you know, getting back in, you know, getting your racing legs in underneath you.
Especially somebody chasing nationals and all sorts of stuff.
I mean, at this point, what do you think the national scene would look like if it fired up? All things go perfect, and we get an all clear to go back to normal life in, let's be realistic, June?
My opinion, earliest.
That's the earliest. So
I mean, and that's...
Best case scenario, June 1st.
Yes.
Whatever the first national is, June 2nd, whatever that weekend is. How many people are going to be at that race? I don't know if many people are.
I think it'll be slim pickings.
Yeah, it'd be tough to travel depending on
what's
even...
Colin brought up a good point the other night. Finance. I mean, you go a few months where...
Yeah, that's 2 months from now.
Yeah, who knows what you're going to do, how you're going to make it. Like, yeah, that's big time.
You know, and that's the thing. It's like, I mean, are people going to be able to afford to go? They might want to go, like, hey, I'm dying to race, and they might put on a credit card, but if you don't have the money to go, you don't have the money to go. You know, that's a biggie.
So Todd
that's why I think locals are going to end up, like, you know, kicking up a little bit because everybody can afford the 10 or 15, you know, for a trophy race, you know, more than likely.
Right, that Todd Ditch on the chat was kind of saying that too. He says, you know, I think things will be slow at first nationally, but locals with beginner leagues and people biting at the bit to get out of their local and state scene will blow up eventually. So he's sounding hopeful.
You know, and going back to the whole idea of tracks, you know, in 2011, this guy Gary Aragon, who was running the NPL at the time, tried this all-you-can-race program, which failed horribly, and the NBL went under, but there was a lot of fringe tracks that we lost. I mean, we've lost about 30 tracks, net loss from 2011 to today. And a lot of those were lost because they couldn't pay the bills to make it through the end of the year to make it to 2012.
That was a joke.
I'm hoping that we don't lose a lot of BMX tracks. That's where, if you're on a city park or like a nonprofit working with a city government, you might be better off. But if you're a privately owned track, you might not be able to make it to next year as far as that goes. And, you know, there's a saying that we have, nationals have become the new locals. And the reason why nationals have become the new locals is because people want competition.
Yes.
And a lot of times the only way you can get competition is going to a national.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a local or even state races, sometimes you don't even make a class.
Yeah.
You know, so you're waiting to get a class, whereas if we could get a class at these local races, like, that's where BMX that could be the silver lining. If you could go out to your local track and do a skate race and not have to spend a crap load of money, you know, that's where, growing up in Florida, the Florida State Series back in the NBL days, the third biggest race that NBL sanctioned every year was the Florida State Championship. Yeah, and to explain that a little bit deeper, the biggest race that NBL would sanction was the NBL Grands. Second biggest was
Christmas Classic.
Cup.
Oh, President's Cup.
President's Cup, Christmas Classic.
Yeah.
Third biggest was the Florida State Championship. So the Florida State Championship was bigger than any other national that wasn't the Grands or the Christmas Classic.
Oh,
think about that.
Wow.
That's huge.
You know, and that's the thing is, people could, and one reason that the Florida State Championship was so big and so successful is you knew going to the state series you were going to get a class.
Yeah.
You were going to get competition.
Sure.
You were going to get novice and intermediate. You were going to get quarters in your classes if you were 8 to 13 years old, you were getting
cow.
quarters. If you were in the expert class, you got semis. You go to a race and get semis, whether you win or lose or make the main, don't make the main, you still know that you got competition. Like, it's fun. You go to a state race and there's total points, 3 riders. What's your motivation to go to the next state race?
It's
And
it's
that's where things go up. And like Paul said, maybe local racing will get better, but I don't know if there's an infrastructure and logistics for people to go to a state race. I go to a bunch of state races selling shirts. I've been to probably, in the last year and a half, 2 years, I've probably been to 50 different state races, state qualifiers, state championships. And very rarely do you get like more than 8 riders in a class.
Yep.
And if we could get 8 riders in a class or more, and you have a main event, you have that, then people are going to want to do that. You got to be able to people want quality competition.
I think we got it.
And that's why everything's gone that way. And if you guys can keep things going in Michigan, you can get that quality competition without having to go around the country and get a plane ticket and do everything. You could work Monday through Friday, take off Friday night, race qualifier Saturday, one Sunday, be home Sunday night, go back to work. And if you get 5 to 10 kids in your class, then it's all worth doing
Right.
it. And I'm hoping that can happen.
Did we have another question?
Well, Mr. Salisbury, I think, brings up a good point. He said, excuse me, he feels like it's going to be hopefully a great opportunity to recruit some new kids who are missing out on the baseball, soccer, track seasons that aren't going to happen this year because kids aren't going to end up going back to school. And so maybe that'll actually lead to some growth.
Is that Charlie?
Yeah.
He's our IT guy for the show.
But
Correct.
the thing is getting the word out to those people.
Very good point.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I find is so many people just don't even know that it happens anymore. I mean, like back in the 80s, they had McDonald's commercials and, strawberry honeycomb commercials. BMX was just everywhere. Everybody knew what was going on. And it's like now I talk to many people, Richfield's and Davison, and I talk to people from Davison and they don't even know that there's a track there.
I mean, that happens.
BMX is the best kept secret in youth sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's true.
That's for sure. 110%.
Well, hopefully-
That's a shame. But it's how do you get these kids, how do you get the big word out? Because it's like everybody's got an opinion, should we use social media, television commercial, radio, whatever you have been, or, need to be done. But it's just, to me, that is the biggest issue is that just there's not that competition because they're all at home playing Xbox.
Well, hopefully these beginner leagues that everybody wants to get started could have something to do with that.
Yeah, I think we could chime in in the chat with your you guys' ideas on exactly what you think could be done to capitalize on that time frame when this all settles. We're thinking optimistically, June 1st, and what do we do as tracks and what do we do as even riders to help out and get more people involved. If you guys are just joining in right now, thanks for joining the Michigan BMX Podcast Show for our Friday Night Live segment. Tonight we have Colin Stiles joining us again. He is in here from Arizona this evening. And also we have Paul, our sound guy, joining us from his house this evening. So again, thank you both for jumping in here tonight. I know Chris is watching from home, and so is Jay, our video guy. They're both sitting at home tonight, kind of taking it in, relaxing. I want to say thanks for everybody joining us this evening.
I do appreciate the extended screen time, Justin.
Well, see, what happens is it's set so when you guys talk, it kicks back and forth.
Okay. So, as long as nobody chimed. Well,
Yeah.
so that's
So you
only
always
the
get the last
beginning
word,
eye.
Paul. You
Yeah.
always take the last word. You'll always be the one on
It's like
camera.
So everybody gets to see my pretty face.
Yeah, it's like when you argue with. It's like
we're
when
all doing our part to Corona team.
That's
we're
it.
all in our own little areas, except for Justin, Melissa. You guys you got to split up a little bit more. You're more than 6 feet. You're too close. You got to get 6 feet. But Paul's doing a great job. He's at home. I'm at home. We ain't transmitting Corona to each other. We're practicing safe talk shows.
That's right.
safe.
Well, Charlie had made a comment in here that at Rock City Indoor they had at one point in time talked about kicking around open the indoor for like maybe 3 families at a time for a couple hours, kind of doing like a book it, a sign up, but with the stay at home mandate that kind of eradicates that.
Probably went right out the window. That's a great idea. So, so I think let us know what you guys think. What you guys.
I do have another question if you
Oh,
want to change
perfect.
the subject.
I was going to transition.
Move the subject.
Yes, perfect. Take the question. We'll transition.
Okay,
different.
so Carl was kind of wondering what Colin's thoughts about the growth of some of the older classes in the last 5 years.
I don't know.
Whether there has been.
I know here in Michigan, and Colin goes to a lot of the state races, so he's a little more local than even nationals. I know here in Michigan at the states and our locals, we've had an explosion on that. You and I have referred to it as the second gen, the wash, rinse, and repeat, right? The dads, the moms are getting into it now that maybe did it when they were younger. And we've had a big time expansion there. What's the Intermaniac class that Charlie races in? Is it okay? So that's 40, 45, and then 46 and 50. That class at the qualifier, the qualifier had 2 wrecks. I think they had 14 or 12 people. It was awesome. And I mean, that race, that's an actual featured race next week for the lap of the week segment. Man, you talk about some good racing, especially on the indoor where it's tight and short. Man, those guys, they always put on a good show. Shout out Steve Everett, who's always winning.
Jay has a point to that. He said one of the biggest problems with the older experts is they don't like to necessarily race the locals, because they say that there's really
no competition
to race.
Yeah.
Kind of touching on Colin's competition point earlier. So if they would show up,
competition. They crave competition.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
BMX racers are competitive.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get on the gate and know, like, hey, if I give it my all, I can maybe win this or get like a top 3. If I don't make mistakes, I might get an 8. But they don't want to get on the gate and be like, no matter what I do, I'm winning pretty much because all these guys are slow. Or no matter what I do, I have no chance of winning, even if everybody crashes twice. You want to find people.
That'd be me.
That's a great point.
Yeah. Well, it's called a race for a reason.
Yeah. We drive a long ways for it, and I got fortunate, very, very fortunate with my age this past 2 years. Actually, a lot of people coming up and moving up in class, and it's pushed a lot of us. We got a lot of fast guys in there. Cruiser class is super fun. The guy that just made the comment, Jay, him and I go at it all the time. But we always have a good class, and it's one of those things. Even with 3, which hey, we're all getting a podium. Even with 3, typically, even at a local there at the indoor. Again, but that's the indoor. That's a different dynamic because the competitors are going there. We're driving there. We're going 2 hours. You switch the outdoor, man. That's really where it hurts because then you got. Your track 45 minutes or an hour away, and you might be the only expert there.
Right.
But it is, that it has been a lot of fun, and the guys that race in those classes make it fun too.
Austin says it's because Solon Foster never races. Jay.
It is true.
Having some sort of open or something that if there is that one expert, you find other people for them to race against. If there's something, because it's like. An expert shows up and like, dude, I don't have a class. I'm not going to be competitive. Like, I'm going to smoke everybody that's here. What's your reason? What's your motivation to race?
Exactly.
That's not fun. I mean, people like to win, but when you don't even try and you're still going to win, that ain't fun.
We got a 1720 novice that races on Kemco, Alicia, and she never has a class. She's always racing guys that are like 30, and she just turned 18, Justin?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I mean, she's always racing like 30 to 35 novice or, gets class. Well, she hasn't got class down since she went up to 1720. But I think she is the only 1720 novice rider in the state.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Yeah, no, she's a champ though, man. She's a trooper. She never fails to try and
100%.
she's whether she knows she's going to win or lose. So I mean, her
she probably
has an effect.
She probably just woke up a few hours ago too. She's been
18.
She's been taking She has been taking full advantage of no school lately. I talked to her the other day. She's like, "Oh man, I woke up at 5." I'm like, "Were you up hanging out with friends?" And don't tell me if you were drinking because I don't want to know these things. She's like, no, we were just up doing TikToks. I'm like, oh my God.
So some of the conversation in the chat has kind of transitioned to also Todd Ditch had mentioned that they need to maybe slow the races down a little bit. Let people kind of enjoy watching the show more than like, hurry up, let's get out of here, let's move on for the rest of our day.
Yep.
They're dropping the gate too fast. Charlie kind of also agreed with that.
What's that, Colin?
That's always an interesting debate. I mean, I think it depends on your track. If you have, 30 moto locals, like talking to people there at Ed Fountain BMX up in Vegas, they consistently get 30 moto locals. And for them, it's like they race on a weeknight. Like parents they have to go to work the next day.
Yeah,
totally
that makes a good point.
Boom, 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 boom. If you have a smaller turnout, maybe you take a little bit more time and drag it out. I kind of look at it this way. It would be great to just kind of bam through it at a fast pace and then open the track up to ride for 30, 40 minutes, an hour after the race.
What do you think of that, Todd? What do you think about that idea, Todd? Todd's raced a long time, and he does bring he'll bring a lot of good insight. He hasn't raced lately, but not real happy with a lot of the new rules, like the 30-foot rule, the no moving down the last straight rule, and basically the 6-foot rule that is now invoked on all the citizens of our country, in racing, suddenly, like can't touch a person. Like, what the hell's going on? This is racing. Get in the corner and ram an elbow in there.
Yeah.
But he does bring a lot of insight and some stuff, and it's not just one of these guys, the old school dudes, get off my lawn type dude. He brings some good stuff. So what do you think of that? That idea? Now, I've been one. I know before the when it was by sanction, I always remembered hearing, you go to USA BMX, or wait, you go to ABA's Grands, it's a show. That was always what I heard. Now as an MBL dude, then I saw the ABA Grands. And I worked in retail. I never could go, so I had to watch the stream. And I'm like, holy crap. That is laser lights and fog machines. And, I mean, it was, that's true. There's a lot of validity there. That is a show. And, they really do it up. Now, granted, it's only one race, but, they do make it a show.
Even at the Nationals, I mean, I used to hear a lot about that. I was kind of bi-curious. Growing up in Florida, I didn't have many opportunities.
We're talking about racing sanctions. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah. I mean, one of the first BMX actions I saw, they showcased the ABA Grands, and I'm like, dude, I want to go to that someday, but I'm in Florida, so it's hard to get there. So I was always bi-sanctional. I was wanting to be bi-sanctional, and it's difficult when your local track's 8 hours or 10 hours away from your house. But but I had a friend of mine, Jeff Dean, who he went bi-sanctional earlier, and he was like, dude, ABA puts on a good show. They're announcing the atmosphere, the hype. And when I went to the first couple ABA races, I'm like, wow, it lived up to the hype. It's like when you look at everything around the track, you're like, this is why ABA rules. But then when you look at the actual track, you're like, this is why NBL's better.
Funny thing, so that is such a great point you bring up, because that is one of the things I wanted to get your. Wait, does the princess got to come through? Yeah. Laura, you got probably more fans on this show right now than we got. Come on in, come through. But you have to say hi to Colin as you go through, okay?
She wants a snack, and I didn't.
It's
bring
snack
her the
time
right
for Laura. Come on,
corner.
Okay, you got it. No, this is Colin. You see Colin? So lean in and say hi. And I think you can say hi to, Jay's on, Brandon's on. You can say hi to all them guys.
Hi.
All right, thanks. All right. Well, it's like working from home right now. I talked to all my counterparts that are working from home, and we get to hang out and learn all about their kids. It's been actually kind of a fun thing.
I don't think it's good that my 8-year-old just told me my breath after doing a shot of whiskey.
Said it smelled like whiskey. Well, it's making sure they're...
8-year-olds, they still say I love you and give you a kiss when you drop them off at school.
So far, that is the truth.
Mm-hmm. So
it's coming soon, though. Just wait. Mom might get away, but Dad, it was probably 6th grade or 4th grade when my daughter's like, Dad, don't say I love you.
She totally.
Yeah, we were supposed to be at the end of her 2nd grade year, so.
Yeah.
So we were.
I milked it as long as I could with my daughter.
So speaking about the tracks, we're gonna jump in. I'm gonna talk about how ABA versus the NBL, this age-old debate on the tracks. But first, we got to hear from our friends, and it's Paul's favorite commercial because it's one of our longer commercials.
Smoke them if you got them, Paul.
So, Paul, if you got one.
I'm taking a run out there.
It's funny.
When I'm back.
It's funny. He has everything set here in the studio, sounding so good. And when he opens our sliding door, it's so loud in our headphones. All right, guys. Think of if you got comments, if you got questions for Colin or even Paul, put them in the chat. We're gonna be right back. We got to hear from our friends at Truth to help us help this for you guys. And we're back with Colin and Paul, along with Melissa and myself in the studio. Thank you guys for joining. If you're just jumping in right now, we've got Colin Stiles from the infamous Styleman Industries joining us this evening, along with Roman Remington, the field reporter for the Michigan BMX podcast. He's also our audio guy.
I'm feeling left out.
You're the producer. I was gonna get to you.
I mean, no.
Look,
I
literally,
I don't have anybody like this.
What, like alter nicknames and stuff?
Right.
Oh, Melissa needs a nickname, gang. So those of you following,
Oh no.
yeah, let's light up that chat. Let's light up that chat right now with nicknames for Melissa. But before
BMX groupie.
that's yeah.
I know.
So before we went to commercial with Truth, Colin had brought up a point, and that was one of the things I wanted to kind of chat about, was this age-old debate on who made the better tracks, ABA or NBL. Now, I'm going to say I cracked into the transit videos, and I got to say, I'm going to come in and just flat out say that there are tracks how long's it been, Colin, since you made a transit?
07 or 06 was my last time.
Okay.
Yeah, Jay was just kind of curious if Colin had a desire to race again.
Yeah, do you?
I don't want to never say never. Like, I don't care if I ever race again. I'm in that mode where I just want to ride my bike. I just want to go ramp some jumps and just ride my bike and have fun riding. Racing doesn't excite me like it used to personally. I mean, I still love it. I still like watching it and stuff like that. But the racing side of it, and racing isn't as good. Like, you talk about the transit. I mean, Jason Carnes one time, he had the box set when he was doing his Berm Academy. He was forcing all the kids to watch it. He was watching a bunch of transit, while they're, eating dinner or whatever. And he was like, man, was racing just better in the early 2000s, or did transit make racing look better? And I'm like, well, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
With transit, I filmed it in a way that made it look good and I showcased it, but I think racing was better before. And 95 to 05, I think that was kind of the golden age of racing. And I mean, the tracks, I think, were better back then. It's weird because
better in what ways?
What's that?
Better in what way?
They were today. Well, today, I'll put it this way. Today, you got two different directions that tracks are going. You either have supercross, crazy, 8-meter hill, gonna kill kids,
right?
Have watered down,
pedal over everything. Just pedal over it and pump it. And what? Okay, so if you guys haven't, get yourself the box set. How much does the box set cost, Colin?
$70 shipped in the U.S.
Look, that is the best deal that you're gonna have. They're sitting over my shoulder here, or no, over Melissa's shoulder. 10. No, how many of them are there?
10
There's
There's
10.
total 11.
plus.
Yeah, but you
Want
also
the how-to video?
yeah. So you're
Clinic
anyway.
video, that's an extra $10.
You're
but-
not getting a better value anywhere. And man, we were watching them the other night and just looking at the tracks. So Paul, I'll tell you why. One of the things that you guys always do out at Richfield is always like an NBL track. They'll never change because you got.
It used to be an NBL track.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it
was.
was.
And it's never gonna lose that like heritage right there, right? Like gnarly lips, and like rigid, like they'll knock your fillings out if you've got them in, man. And it's hard racing. That's why there's always good. It's good, man. Looking at that transit, watching those transit ones, there is no tracks out there right now that are anywhere near what those were. And looking at the nationals and the grands and all that stuff, and you even then, like when you were filming for both and like the mid 2000s, late 2000s, you didn't need the title on the bottom of the screen to know if it was an ABA track or not. Like you knew it was an NBL or ABA. Like you just knew, like they were gnarly, steep, filthy fun times. And
They were different. Like NBL, like I think back to when I was in elementary school. I'm gonna tell a quick little story. So
Yeah,
we had
man.
some guy come in, and he was a playground architect, and he built like wooden playgrounds. Of course, they built it the year after I got out of elementary school, but he had a definitive style. So if I was driving around the country, I saw a playground that he built or designed. You knew it because it's that guy. Because all of them look the same. With the old NBL days, everybody built their own tracks for the most part. Like that's the big key is in ABA, it's like the same guys are building the tracks. And if the same guy built the track, they're going to have a certain style and technique. It's like when you look at
I never
artwork,
realized that.
it just becomes repetitive. It's like you kind of do the same thing over and over again. Like I rolled up the tracks before. First time getting there, and I'm like, oh, so-and-so built this track. How do you know? I've hit 30 of his tracks this summer. It looks almost identical to the other 30 tracks I wrote.
yeah.
And that was one thing that was different on the NBL side is people built their own tracks.
So I remember
For the most part.
something you said on it was one of the Rail to Berm shows. You made a comment how do I know? Because all the jumps are 19 feet apart. Why are they 19 feet apart, Colin?
Yeah. I mean, I can measure it out.
No,
and I know it because I've built with certain people. I've built with a lot of different builders before, so I've seen how they do stuff. I've built tracks with Bob Tedesco, with Tom Ritz, with Billy Allen, with Lance McGuire.
Yeah.
And I'm always inquisitive, like, how do you do this? Why do you do it that way? Why do you do this? Why do you do that?
Well, your point was they're 19 feet apart because that is the length of a loader.
Yeah.
So you
They're
always
like 2 buckets high, 4 buckets high, or 6 buckets.
exactly, and you're like, oh, the jumps that's a loader apart. And the thing, just some insight for Paul, at Richfield, they'll start working so early. You can't get equipment out there, right? There's still these things called frost laws up here. In your Midwest part of the country, so you can't have equipment delivered, and not every track has the machine out there. That's Dennis, just out building. So a lot of the stuff at Richfield is hand built, so equipment isn't in there. So it is tighter, and man, I wish I could remember which race I was watching. Next commercial, I'll grab the disc and look at what I'm like. I don't know if there was more. I don't think there was much flat on this track because it was just jump after. It was is it DeSoto? Yeah, it's Chris track.
That was an ABA track.
No, it wasn't that. It was after the DeSoto section in Transit 10. That was the track. It was jump after jump after jump, and it was just insane. I'm like, man, you do not see tracks like that at all anymore. I'll grab it and look here in a second, but let us know what you guys think there in the chat. I know it's going off. I see a ton of just NBL.
Yeah, I mean, and Michigan is NBL country.
Yes.
Like Florida's NBL country, so there's going to still be some influence that way. But to me, it's just that idea that You get Paul building the track, you get Colin building the track, you get Justin building the track, Dennis building the track. You guys are going to all do it differently.
Right.
You guys are going to all create and design and have different ideas that other people aren't going to have. But if it's the same guy building it all the time, they tend to go with what works.
Yeah.
That's where
I know we got a question. Go ahead.
Oh, you could.
From Brandon.
You had it in front of your face.
It's hey, did
sorry, there it is.
Colin, did you ever go to Planet City in Florida? That was a gnarly ABA track.
Planet City, I know it was a bike shop. That probably St. Augustine. But if it was a BMX track, I never got to Planet City. I mean, I haven't lived in Florida in 15 years. It's been a while, a decade and a half since I've last lived there.
Yeah, I don't know. Brandon's been racing for a long time. Brandon, kind of elaborate on that, and we'll follow up with it. You know, we're not trying to beat up on any track builder at all. We're just kind of talking a little loose here about how.
I mean, ultimately, guys, it's your local track. Sometimes you need a track builder to come in and help you out, but don't be afraid to go out there and do it on your own. Like, do something different. Don't just build the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I remember being on summer tour one time, and we showed up at St. Peters, Missouri, right outside St. Louis. They completely changed their track layout. The only thing that was the same was the starting hill.
Mm-hmm.
As we roll up, and they're all excited, they went from outside U to inside U to a M shape. And I rolled up and looked at the track. I'm like, hey, don't you want to get there and practice? I'm like, I've already ridden this track. No, but we rebuilt it from last year. And I'm like, trust me, I've been on tour for 2.5 months. I've ridden this track. That second straightaway, I've already ridden 10 times. The rhythm section, I don't even have to roll it. I can just hit it firsthand because I already know what it's going to feel like, because every lip is shaped the same. It's all identical. The spacing's the same. I know exactly how everything's going to feel. I don't need to practice it. Like, I know I can go out there first lap and hit it. Whereas the old NBL days, you'd be like looking and walking the track. You're like, hey, what's that jump going to feel like? Hey, can you jump from here to there?
Yeah.
And you'd be watching other people do it. Somebody would do it, and you'd be like, hey, what was it like to jump that jump? Was that hard? Was it easy? Did you boost up? You know, like, people are kind of fretting the track and trying to figure it out.
Who's the fast pro from Minnesota? What's that kid's name?
Elliot McGrath or
yes.
Joey the Bomb?
So Elliot showed up some years back at Lansing, and Lansing is the same way. You know, this was after the merge, but we still did our thing out there. And I remember him.
Three-headed monster on the third straight.
Well, that had been knocked down, so we were doing a thing, whatever. But we had redone the last straight. But it was, to your point, like you were saying, it was just us, and we had the TO kid, Nate. He had got some stuff. His dad owns a company. Brought it out. We did our own thing. And I remember him showing up, and he was like, "Man, that's nuts!" Like the way there was this crazy camelback that led to this. You remember down the second straight, that crazy drop into the second turn, if you can recall that. Like that was a big drop. Like reconfiguring the second straight and all this stuff, and it was wild watching them guys, because like you just said, you know, somebody like himself, I can't speak for now, but I know back then he did a ton of clinics, and you know, he had rode, and him and the other gentleman that was with him were like, man, they rode that place till it was lights out. And I mean, we still don't. Steve Dyer, he's the one running it over there. You know, they still don't have lights. Anytime we had a night race or anything, we rented them. But man, they rode that thing until it was just pitch dark, and it was great. It was a fun night, man. All the parents hung around, and he was giving away posters and stuff, and they were signing them. But it was just pitch black. But they they rode, and it was crazy watching those guys. You know, just actually slipping in and having a lot of fun on that track.
Elliot went on tour with me probably 3 or 4 years. You know?
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta say,
I remember we got pulled over in Tennessee one time. I was speeding, and the cop got me for tailgating, and Elliot was only 13 at the time.
Oh, wow.
And so the cop, like, hey, I need to talk to this kid. So we pulled the kid over, and then, you know, Elliot got back in the car. We started driving off, and he's like, what's that? It's like, oh, the cop was just making sure that I wasn't kidnapping you. whether you are, I wasn't being kidnapped, type of deal, because he was a minor.
Right.
We got some funny Elliott stories. In Michigan, his first night on the tour, he was with Justin, and they were driving the limo, and there's 3 of them, and the limo, the back was set up with 2 cots. Well, there's 3 people, there's only 2 cots. Elliott's doing the math in his head, and he's like, what's going on? And then Justin realizes what he's thinking, and he goes, roof.
Roof?
He made Elliott sleep on the roof of the limo. In Michigan, they were at a state park, and they did the 5-toe discount, tried to sneak in, and they got busted by a park ranger and had to pay the fee to stay there. Was like $30 or $40 a night. They were hoping to just sneak in, get a shower, and leave, and not have to pay any fees, but they got busted on that. But that was Elliott's first night on tour.
You said he was like 13?
Yeah.
That's wild.
13 years old. But I know one time I was doing clinics. I was back in Florida. We were doing a clinic at a track, and we did it before their race. So, they had 2 hours of practice. So we got done with the clinic, and the track I was like, "Hey, go and go ride the track." You ride the track. We're like, we're kind of tired. We don't really, we just want to take it easy because the track sucked. I'm not going to say what track it was. The track flat out sucked. And we're like, the guy that was working with me, like, I forced him to demo, and he hated it. Like, he didn't want to ride the track at all. The next day, we're at another track, and we got done. It was the same situation. We got done with the clinic, 2 hours of practice, and he rode for like 40 minutes. Then I came in, and I rode till I couldn't ride anymore because the track was so much fun. First time I went to Shoreham in Long Island, old NBL track.
Yeah.
Keith Terra, Keith Mulligan, Justin Lafredo, Robbie Morales,
oh wow,
Hirochi, so many, Tim Strzelecki, so many fast dudes came out of that track. We did the clinic and we got done at like 9:30, and the track operator's cool. We rode that track for another 2 hours. We didn't get done riding the track till 11:30 at night because the track was so fun.
Nice.
But sometimes you go to a track and you're like, yeah, I don't need to ride this track anymore.
Right.
I know that's what happened at Lansing. Elliott got there and he rode some different stuff, and dudes are like, hey, this is fun. Let's keep trying to see what we can do and push ourselves,
Yeah, that was was that your man? That would have been probably the grand opening, wouldn't have been? Or they were calling it. It was the first year when you were there, right?
Yeah, I think I was there. I was the first guy to ever teach a clinic there.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And that would have been 2000. I think that would have been 2000.
Yeah, it was their inaugural year, and it was later in the year because this was just a trivia question earlier this year, earlier in the shows. And here's how here's how I remember this. I had left work, and I'm driving, and there was this radio station everybody listened to out of Lansing, and they were there doing a remote, and they're like, "We got these dudes," and they were just killing your name. And I knew one of the guys that worked there, and I called him up. I'm like, dude, this is how he said, this is the name, pronounce it correctly. And then when they cut back to the live feed, they had you right. So it was it was later part of 2000. 2000.
We were in Canada doing a clinic up there, and then we actually got lost coming out. I think we went through the wrong port, and then we were like late getting to the clinic. And like you said, they didn't have lights, so we had to speed the whole way to get there to teach that clinic. But we were in Canada coming out of there, driving through. That was interesting.
So we hit the track thing. We talked about the Corona. Before we move into the next our next part of this conversation, do we have anything in the chat? Anybody have anything?
Yeah,
for
actually, Dennis was kind of curious with all the tracks that Colin had been to and run around building and stuff. Have any of them been built where there's a jump over water?
A water jump?
Does that exist?
Track, no, I know Grands has had them before.
Yeah, they did last year or 2 years ago. They had the water jump. We had all the floaties in it.
Yeah, I know. One year, NBL Grands had a fire jump. They put hay bales in the center of the pro section and lit them on fire for pro practice.
Jeez.
Yeah, but usually
I don't know if
it's an
Dennis is
indoor
thinking
track
maybe
with
Richfield
something
needs a
like that. Get wet on.
Maybe.
But in the actual existing track, the only thing I can think of would be Adam Richards in like early 90s, 16 and over open, made the main event. and decided at Waterford to jump the
Heck
last
yes.
jump and transfer
Right in the
lake
pond.
Turn down.
Yep.
You know,
And
you have that, but
Fuzzy Hall did it. Fuzzy Hall did it too.
Like went swimming, like with
They
their
just-
bike into the pond.
They went off the jump and transferred right in the water.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was
fun to see.
Yeah, well, yeah. We're gonna get Paul to do that this year.
So Todd, I don't know if Todd's talking about the same
Yeah,
thing you guys are
what?
talking about, but
Hang
he
on.
said at the old days that Waterford had Waterford's track had a water jump, but he may have
What?
been talking about into the pond.
Oh.
I don't know. He didn't clarify that, but I'm just wondering if that's what he.
All right. So Todd, that's joining us. Todd gave us. He let me borrow this, which required me to relearn how to copy DVDs. So Todd, I have it all ripped, and I'm already tearing it apart.
Oh my gosh!
So
nonstop.
we're gonna have a couple weeks ago. I don't know if Colin, if you got to see it. Charlie came on and we did a thing where we were just watching some races, and he was kind of commentating on it. Now, this
Oh
one,
no, he said an actual jump.
it was an actual water jump
That's
at Waterford.
what
That is
he's saying,
awesome.
Yeah.
it's Waterford. You got to have a water.
You should.
On the track. He said it was on the track.
Oh,
That's how they
hey.
got the name.
Todd, tell me if it's on the DVD. So anyway, Todd's got this. It is. I've peeped through a few of this and skimmed through it. Man, this is gonna be a killer. We're gonna have Todd come on and do some commentating on this one as Charlie did. Because a lot of the races are at Waterford. Plus, there are races of him, and he knows these guys. But there are some pretty big names that were in here.
Brandon said that Todd actually backflipped into the pond at Waterford one year.
I wouldn't doubt it. Todd's a gnarly dude. But yeah, there's some really cool races on here. So that'll be an upcoming one of the ones we do where we commentate the race.
I have seen waterfalls at a track.
Yeah, Waterford's got a waterfall.
Well, I mean, it
does?
was
Waterford,
Johnstown.
yeah.
You can't say Johnstown. It's gonna be
John.
Johnstown.
Yes.
They have a
In
fountain.
Johnstown, but they actually had waterfalls, and they called it the waterfalls, but it was just kind of like rollers that just dropped down. There's like 3 or 4 of them that went into turn 2. And Greg Hill had some videos from like '84 racing the national there, and they had the waterfalls, and they still have them. I think
That's
it's
sweet.
a unique feature on the track.
Yeah, I've
So-
never seen anything like that. That's crazy.
This guy just jumped in the chat. This Bob Sensabaugh, you know him?
Bob Sensabaugh.
He said
He was on Wednesday night too.
he said I thought
Wait,
some.
hold on a second.
There he is. He said I thought something was poking out of Colin's beard.
Was it Colin's beard or was it
Todd's beard?
Paul's beard?
Paul. It could be either one. Bob, you got to clarify. We got 2 guys with beards on here. How do you know Bob, Colin?
How do I know Bob?
Yeah.
How do you know, Bob?
He used to come over to my 3rd bedroom
Ooh.
once a week and get his groove going down. Yeah, but it's hey, you want to know about Bob Sensabaugh? Look
There he
right
is.
here.
Yeah.
Bobby Moto Man.
And Bob says he'd
That's
also.
Bobby Motomag right there doing a tabletop from 1973.
He wants
jumping
to-
the ditch out of Chandler. Woo!
He wants to know where that bitchin' hat came from too.
Yeah.
Where'd that bitchin'
Yeah,
hat come from? He wants to know. Bob does.
Oh, that bitchin' hat came from my garage. Look at that tabletop right there.
Wow.
That's Bobby.
Bobby Motomag.
Nice.
We can get him to call in. The only things that's going to happen is you and Paul aren't going to probably be able to hear him, but we could still get him on the show. I'm going to give him my number real quick and tell him to call in because I was talking to him before about coming on the show. He's like, look, man, I am not a techie dude, because I started talking about the video conferencing, and it was great because the next week you guys had the show where he lost his phone for like the whole week, and you guys are like, what do you mean you lost your phone for a week? He's just like, yeah, dude, I just, whatever, man, it's a phone,
I don't think he has a computer, yeah.
He didn't or doesn't, because he's like, I'll hit up Brad and see if I can borrow one of his, and I'm like, most people just don't loan their computer out. So, Bob, call my number. I put it in the chat. We'll get you on. Again, I'll just kind of relay the stuff to Colin and Paul because I don't have a send and return. Because he's like, I'll and we'll get him on here in a second. But in the meantime,
Paul,
Hey,
what's the coolest track you've ever raced in your life?
Me?
Yeah.
Man, it would have to be the one that I raced in my childhood, Stadium BMX, out there. I was up on Dorrit Highway in Flint, Michigan. But yeah, it was my because everything was smaller but bigger, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, like jumps are smaller, but they're kind of like it was harder to get over them because you didn't have all this momentum pushing you. It wasn't tracks weren't built for that insane speed. So you had to pedal your speed and get over them little doubles. So that's what I mean by everything was smaller, but it was bigger.
Oh,
Because it was.
downhill.
Hey, stadium are you talking indoor or outdoor, Paul?
Oh no, the outdoor one that
Okay.
was up there by Playland.
So Playland is funny thing with Playland. So Playland Park is an adventure amusement park, putt-putt golf, go-karts, video arcade stuff like when they still had stand-up arcades. For those of
Yeah,
you
they
kids,
leveled that thing, man. It's
they
a lot now.
yeah. So for those of you kids that don't know what I'm talking about, this is before all your video games. You actually went to a place of business and
Austin.
you put money into the stand-up arcades and talked to other people while you were there and played video games and whatever. They had the arcade and all that stuff, so you'd do that. And then they had the King of Vert there, Colin, like back in the day with like Ron Wilkerson and Brian Blair. They had a King of Vert stop there, and Matt Hoppin, of course. And Damon, one of the guys watching, he was in there too. But Mike Dominguez, yep. So, but down the road was Stadium BMX, and Stadium had an outdoor and an indoor. You're speaking to the outdoor, correct, Paul?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, way before my time, before I got into racing. Not my age time, but I just wasn't racing back then. So what made that track so crazy and unique? What's that?
David says the King of Vert.
It wasn't laid out like the M design or an inside out. It had you did like a big fishhook turn, and then like if you wanted to go on the expert track, you went over the berm, and then it was the same shape, so it was like 2 lanes that went around. But all the jumps, obviously the experts said everything was bigger. But when you come around, you went down a long straightaway that had like a roller in it, and then a tabletop, and then you went into this big like a paper clip thing at the end that just raised up and went down. It was just laid out way different.
Mm-hmm.
I get the standard.
Experts,
Hey,
roller. There's so much different stuff going on there. I love it.
hey, when you were you around? Did you do anything in '84 when the Worlds were down there in Florida, Colin?
87.
Or 87,
I was
sorry.
Not racing at that time. I came in a little bit after.
Okay. Well, I just caught a YouTube video the other day, and I gotta say I'm watching it, and it was nuts because they cut to this 40 and over cruiser class, and I'm watching it, and I was like, wow, that's how old.
These were so John Johns.
Yes, that was one of the names too. But they're like talking.
John Johns from England. Oh, he passes him at the finish line.
Okay, so you saw the same video, but speaking to different obstacles to what Paul was saying. I think it was the first turn. The guys came out of the berm, right? So they come out, and then it like had a roller out of the berm. And I bet you, I probably like backed it up, watched it, backed it up, kind of figure. I'm like, man, that's really neat. Like, and they also had like the crazy like wedge berm in the middle of the last turn, but just some different stuff you don't see now. But that
it was a capital L to capital L. The first turn was a 90-degree first turn.
Okay, that makes sense.
Going in and a roller going out.
Yeah.
And it was a 90-degree to the left, and the second turn went to the right. So if you're in gate 8, you're on the outside of the first turn. But if you could get around the top, you were inside for the second turn right away. But that 90-degree first turn, I only got to ride it once because that was the end of 88, and they rebuilt the track in 89, and they made the first turn of 180. If I could build, I actually just did a thing with Chandler BMX. They had a thing going where they said design your favorite, your dream track.
Oh, man.
So this is my dream track, and you can see right there. There's the S logo.
Hold on. Let me get your
here.
camera. Let me bring your camera in bigger, okay? All right, there you go. Run with it.
Yeah, so you can see this 90-degree first turn right there. Roller, 90-degree turn, roller. I would love to do that on a track. And we talk about Greg Lanthorn.
Yes.
He was a local marshal there, and if you go back and watch the video of the pro mains,
I heard the
he's
name.
cutting inside and picking people off.
Yeah.
There were so many different lines in that first turn. It wasn't just like one line. You see guys on the outside make it, guys on the inside make it. There was just a lot of passing back and going forth, and that was my local track, and they had those videos out the track. I was probably a novice or intermediate, and they had like 2 of the VHS tapes left, and I bought one. So I watched it. That was my first transit video. Watched that thing over and over and over again. And Matt Hayden winning cruiser, and Eric Carter, 17 and over X, and Superclass, Mike King. Wanted to race amateur, but he decided to turn pro or Superclass for this race, and Gary Ellis, and Michelle Carnes, David Milham.
The seat post. Everyone's seat post is like this high in that video. They're like super high.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, we're gonna jump to a commercial. We're gonna come back. You guys keep the comments flowing in here. I got a little announcement to make for our friend Charlie when we come back, and we're gonna get to it. We got a couple more things we wanted to cover before we call it a night. We got a few more things we wanted to chat about. But hang around. We're going to get to a couple commercials here. We'll just get them out of the way real quick. So first, we're going to hear from our friends at RSVP and then Kebco BMX.
RSVP Wedding and Event Designs. Anything you can imagine under the sun for your wedding, corporate event, parties, or even private events. Winner of the prestigious Best of Weddings by the Knot. Family owned and operated by some really cool BMXers. Call them now, 248-301-5522. And tell them that the Michigan BMX Podcast Show sent you.
Hey, now that I've got your attention, I want you to look at some cool stuff that Kebco BMX has to offer for you. Just check these out. Some rad t-shirts. If that's not your game, we've got plenty of hoodies to offer you. Make sure to get those hoodies. Want to keep your ears warm in these cold months? We've got hats, we've got beanies. Make sure you slide over and check us out at KebcoBMX.com and buy 2 because you're going to like them that much.
All right, and we are back. We appreciate all you guys for joining us this evening on our special Friday night live edition. We have Colin Stiles hanging out with us this evening, talking some BMX, a little bigger and bad, a little bigger outside of Michigan. So we had a quick announcement we had to make for our friends over there on the west side of the state from this hot off the press from Charlie. Let it be known from this day forward, as long as the Salisburys are in charge, any current, this is my Supercross motocross voice, just for the record.
Oh, yeah.
Any current.
What's going on there?
I don't know.
You better deepen it just a touch.
I can't. I got nothing.
You got an octave lower.
Any current or
There you go.
any current
I can
or
do it, you can
any
do it.
current or X.
Sunday.
Yeah, there it is.
Come
all right.
on,
So
get it
all right, let me get this.
done.
Any current or ex pro BMXer will practice and race locals free of charge at both Rock City locations. Of course, current pros can only race pro-ams at locals, so let this get out and be known. Pros, get your ass fired up. We'll also be implementing the trophy dash at all races at both tracks. Class and cruiser winners from 16 years up will be invited for a winner-take-all open main event to conclude at the end of every race day. Awards to be announced. And then he has F the Zombies. Let's get back to BMX.
They were talking early in the chat about what a trophy dash
Okay, so a
is,
trophy
so-
dash is... Do you know what it is?
I do, but go
Tell them.
No, you go
You're going to do voiceovers? You tell them.
So
Believe me,
a
it'll sound
trophy
better.
dash, basically, from what I understand, is a grouping of all the winners, 16 and up age classes, at the end of
At the end.
the mains.
Yes.
And it's kind of a race for a winner take all.
Correct.
Overall for the day, yeah.
Yeah. 16, 16 and up, though.
Did you do those, Colin?
I never got to do any. They were a lot more popular back in the 80s.
Okay.
But it was something cool because, again, people want competition.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you might
makes
get some
sense.
expert kids who'll be like, well, I ain't got a class. I'm a 13-year-old. But if the 16-year-old races and I win and he wins, we get the trophy dash. You know? So that would be cool. Talking about the coolest trophy dash I ever heard of, though,
Yes.
was Eagle Snacks. Had a BMX team. Eagle Snacks was a
Todd Lyons was on that team.
Todd Lyons was on that thing. Percy Owens was on that thing. Billy Don't Say Ooh Say Ah was on that team. Termite Hudson. Jackal was on that team.
God damn.
They would go on summer
With
tour.
the chainsaw?
Yeah.
No, wrong Jackal, Paul.
Wrong Jackal. But they would be on summer tour, and there'd be 6 guys on summer tour. And they would get a hotel room, but there was only 4 bed spots.
Whoever
So
lost.
after they taught a clinic, they would have a thing called a bed race.
Yep, I've heard
All
this.
6 dudes would get on the gate. Top 4 get a bed. 5 and 6, you're sleeping on the floor. Train a little bit harder. Earn a bed spot next time.
I like it. I think we're gonna implement that for any Kebco trips that we have where we're short beds.
Austin's calling out Richfield.
Yeah, Austin
to
Kelly.
also run a trophy dash.
I think Bob's calling. Austin Kelly, hold 1 second. Austin Kelly's saying that Richfield is going to be doing trophy dashes also, correct?
That's what he wants.
So we're gonna need
That's news to me.
we're gonna need
Well,
somebody.
he mentioned you in the chat. You just can't see it.
Yeah.
If that is Bobby Motomag, tell him he better show up tomorrow morning.
Hang on.
Some ramp and Ace of bike parts.
It's all good.
Is this Bobby?
Yeah, brother.
Bobby Motomag.
You got that right.
He said it is Bobby Motomag. Now, here's the thing. The way we have it patched through, unfortunately, Colin and Paul can't hear, so
I can hear him.
You
I
can?
heard him.
Maybe that's a good thing. Yeah,
Oh, sweet.
We're cooking with Crisco, dude.
We are cooking. I don't know. The Wednesday night troll goblin is out of the...
He's sleeping.
It's gone. So, Bobby, welcome to the show. For those of you who don't know, Bobby Motomag.
I sure appreciate it, fellas.
You are the timekeeper on Rail to Berm.
Yeah, but more than that. You kidding me?
That's all
I
they...
polished Colin's head, too.
Is that why he's wearing a hat tonight?
I don't know if I want to know what
Whoa.
Hey, I want to throw some Michigan history at you guys.
Bring it, son.
You guys familiar with Dugan Neal?
Never heard of her.
What?
Never heard of her.
Come on, man. Dugan Neal was the king shit in the cruiser class.
You talking about that dude that gets all them old bikes, and puts them together, raced for Motor City BMX the last time he was racing? Never heard of her. Dugan, bring it.
What was it?
That was him, man. He was a good friend of mine. Him and Ronnie Anderson when they were working at 7-Eleven back in the day.
Was did Dugan
some credentials?
Didn't Dugan he got himself a world championship, right?
Yes, he
won in
did.
1994 at
Yeah, he
Waterford.
did. I think it was in Bogota, Colombia, or something like that. I still have a picture. Him standing
I'm
on
pretty
the
sure
podium
Dugan
with a
won
dog
world
running for its life in the
championship
background.
80s, 90s, and 2000s.
Get out of here.
That's
80s,
a-
90s, and
True
2000s.
story.
Does anyone?
man.
90s and 2000s.
So somebody's got to have a phone number or something for him. Funny thing, Dugan shows up about every.
Todd
Todd-
Ditch says he knows Dugan.
All right, Todd, text Dugan, find out if he has won a world championship in the last 3 decades. We need to
Clarification.
clarification. Bobby, I appreciate you calling into the Michigan BMX podcast show on our Friday night live show tonight with Colin Stiles. I know I've been working you to try to come on here, and I'm very excited you're on, so I very much appreciate it. We are live here in Michigan. We're looking at your tabletop on Colin's shirt right now.
Wow, it's impressive.
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
tell Bobby what shirt
You know,
I'm wearing?
that's a Gort drawing on there. It's
And-
no Bob Harrell, but it's still cool.
It is cool. So I know you join in, and it's pretty awesome. During the show, I don't really get a chance to follow the chat room, but I know afterwards I'll go back look. So you guys joined in. By chance, did you catch the Jeremy Ames voicemail that he did?
No, I didn't, man.
Oh man.
There's that
that
segment.
right?
We got to do a
What did I
rerun.
miss?
So I'll tell you what, I'm probably not gonna be able to pull it up right now to get it on, but we are gonna have you on again. All right.
Cool.
So
Gotta say when.
and this guy, so what he does is he has a segment, and if you've watched a few times, he each week he calls in, he leaves voicemails, but he does not just to the show, literally to like all of his friends, just random voicemails. So he did one of you. Man, I just can't remember the date, but I might be able to find it. I might. And it was such a dead on, and he had your jokes. It was great.
Man.
It was good. Hey,
Good impression. Flattery is
it is. It truly is. So
whatever that is.
being you're not contracted and obligated right now to rail the berm, do we have a Bobby Moto Mag brought to you by the Colin? What's the bike shop? It's brought to you by
Riding out of
Mudslingers.
Illinois.
All right, so it's Mudslingers.
Mudslingers, that's right.
All right,
Eric Larson's Mudslingers. They do a good program over there.
They do.
They got a track outside. They got a gate. They got a gate, practice gate, for everybody.
Right.
Cool
so
place to hang out, man.
Do you have one of your jokes for us?
I do.
Oh man!
All right.
You got it.
How about this one?
Bring it.
All right. How do you practice safe sex in Michigan?
I don't know.
That's right. You put a sign on the animals that kick.
Oh no.
True story, man.
Oh no.
I don't have a laugh track, but man.
Hey, I gotta go, man. I'm going to a BMX rave. Me and my evil cat Samantha.
He's going to BMX rave.
He's going to a rave with Samantha.
That's right. I think I got the coronavirus.
How?
My balls itch.
Your balls. I wish I could pull
I
up.
can still ride.
Oh, I so wish.
I still got. I was going to go to Vegas, man, and blow them away. I was going to light them up, dude.
Yeah.
But, we got shut down. But regardless, I'm crazy for the BMX. It's driving me nuts. I can't wait to get back out there and fucking scream. You know what I'm saying?
Can you hear me?
Moto Mag, can you hear Colin?
Yeah, man.
Colin, go.
Hey, ask him if he's coming to ride.
I don't hear nothing.
Ride some jumps with me tomorrow. Is he going
What's
to
he
come
saying?
around Mesa Bike Park tomorrow morning?
Are you going to ride at Mesa Bike Park tomorrow?
Oh, man, I can't. Yes, I am.
He says he is.
But it's going to be a crowded place.
You better be out there.
You better be out. Is that where you were, Colin, in the video?
Yeah, that's where I was yesterday. I'm going there tomorrow morning.
And this Mesa Bike Park.
It's that.
It looks amazing.
It does.
He knows where
It's
it is.
reminiscent of the old Corona
Mesa
BMX
Bike
downhill
Park
track in the
It's
70s.
a quarter mile down from Mozzie Fox, where we
Without
first
the dirt
used to do
clods.
the show, Rail and Burn.
So Mozzie Fox, that's because that's the production company for.
Hello?
Nope, you're still there. So you can't hear. Bobby can't hear Colin and Paul. So
That's all right.
I'm not. I don't mean to interrupt him, but it might be that Colin's talking or Paul, so I can repeat it back. So Mozzie Fox, right down the road from the Mesa Bike Park, you guys are going to tomorrow.
That's right.
So where did the Mozzie Fox Productions? Where'd that come from?
Is Colin answering that?
Hang on. No, I'll have Colin hold. You can go ahead and tell us, Bobby.
Oh, well, hey, that's the producer's wife's company. And, if it weren't for the producer's wife, we wouldn't have a Rail to Berm.
And it's funny you say that because if it wasn't for this producer sitting to my left, you're right, we wouldn't have the Michigan BMX podcast show.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Hey, I'm going to sign off with a song, okay?
That's for sure.
Bobby, I appreciate you jumping on. And look, we're going to bring you on. We'll get you all set up so you can come in, video in with us. But I really appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much, all right?
Thanks, brother. We've got to get you a cruiser.
I've got one.
It's the kind of bike can make you feel alive. We got to get you a cruiser.
That is Bobby Moto Mag for you. And if you guys have ever listened to Rail to Berm, he did not let us down.
Hey, since you mentioned cruiser like 9 times in the last 9 minutes, I got a question for you.
For who?
For anybody who wants to answer this, why did they stop having a pro cruiser class?
Colin,
when?
Take this question.
That is a good question. I know Worlds, they got rid of it to add the time trial. I think ultimately the sanctions got rid of it because pros were too lazy to bring a cruiser and a 20.
Oh, no.
And there was just low participation numbers. So they just said, hey, if you guys aren't going to be serious and want to do it, then we're just going to axe it. And trivia question, who was the last guy to win the ABA Pro Cruiser title? And he actually did not get a cup. He got stiff, but he was actually technically the last guy to win it.
Warwick Stevenson.
What year was it?
Warwick Stevenson?
No. He's
Eddie Stumphauser.
that would be a good guess.
That would
he did
be.
win it 5 times, but he wasn't the last guy to win it.
I
Alabama Slammer.
Barry Nobles?
Barry Nobles got stiffed.
He did.
He should have
Yep.
won it, but ABA
Most were
didn't
going
give it
with
to him
Stumpy.
for whatever reason. So you need to get Barry Nobles on to tell the story of how ABA screwed him out of.
I don't know if I got
being
his
the
phone
last
number.
ABA
You
Well,
don't have that one just
I
to
don't.
pull out of your
I saw him.
back
I saw him
pocket
at the
there,
X Games. He was racing the Harleys on the flat track, and he was in the dirt jumping contest.
Hey, you never know.
Well, he
You're
had
reaching a
to do
huge
that
audience.
because ABA screwed him out of the cruiser title.
I mean,
You got to do
Jeez.
something.
Yeah.
I feel between social media, we could probably.
Somebody's got it.
He was out racing riding mountain bikes or something today. I saw.
Yeah. He
Uh,
always ride bikes. I met that kid when he was like 8 years old, out at Oak Mountain BMX in Birmingham. Kid was nuts. Just wanted to ride all the time.
Man, he's probably. He might be one of the. He's in that realm with like the BFs, right? Like Brian Foster. He's in that realm where he literally can just ride anything. And seeing him, I knew he was always known he was a good dirt jumper. You know, he does great on his social media, but going out to the X Games, and I'll recommend this for anyone. Like, do it, okay? You can talk all corporate and how it's sold out. It's still one of the most unique experience you're gonna have as a BMXer, okay? One, seeing the mega ramp literally will give you it'll make you afraid of heights. It's mammoth, but the dirt jumps. We managed to sweet talk our way down to actually walk down and stand by the dirt jumps. Those are some of the most massive dirt jumps. They're like posh, they're like caddy big, right? And they literally just build them for this contest. Like the first lip was 9 foot tall. Now that doesn't sound like a lot till you're standing next to a 9 foot tall dirt lip and you're still looking up. And I mean, these guys' warm up jumps were like double backflip variations, whether it was tail whip, bar spin or something. And those were their setup jumps. And it was, quick shout out to my buddy Nick. Nick's the guy that got me into BMXing. And he's like, I don't care what you got to do, you're going. And we went, and it was a really awesome experience. We got to see the mega ramp, the park. The park was insane. We got to meet Hoffman. We got to see the like I said, the dirt jumping stuff. But the other part that blew me away was we'd leave the arena and then come back the next day, and like everything was changed. The guys that did all the building would knock it down, but then you got to see all these other disciplines. And if you got kids, take them. Don't worry about it, because there's so much stuff outside of the X Games you can do and see, and it doesn't cost anything extra. It just comes with your tickets. The most insane contest I saw was those motorcycles doing the high jump. I thought they were going to touch the roof of the.
Yeah, dude, those guys are crazy.
We were at I don't remember the name of the arena. It's where the Minnesota Vikings play, and I'm going to get yelled at because I don't remember this, but.
At Target?
No, it's Skull Nation something. It's named after some finance, some whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, some bank.
Beautiful USA Bank, beautiful arena. The thing's huge, man. And those motorcycles, they were like 50, 60 feet in the air, straight dropping out of the sky doing the high jump. This is the one where they jump like a quarter pipe. They jump like a quarter pipe and land, not the just straight up and over. I mean, it was wild. We were sitting in the third bowl, and they were eye level. So I highly recommend it. Sorry to go off on a tangent. It was just really cool experience.
That's all right. That's incredible stuff, dude. It's worth talking about.
Yeah.
Bobby's got a request.
What does Bobby have for us?
I feel like it's more appropriate if you ask.
What the Colin, Bob wants to see your abs.
Ah, man.
Wait a minute. Talk, Colin. You got to talk.
Yeah, say something.
Stop talking, Paul.
Right there. That's no abs. That's just the belly. I'm expecting late August.
Shit.
Oh, my God.
It's USA Bank Stadium.
USA Bank Stadium.
Just for
okay.
redemption there. Like I said, it was better that you you request
Oh,
that than myself.
Look at my God.
I feel like you've satisfied it, Colin.
I think what needs to happen is we need to get Bobby and Colin on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
The
sounds
thing
like
about Bobby is if you're really truly going to do Bobby, it's got to be an 18 and up show.
right.
Fair enough. We can
Yeah.
do that.
I could see where
Like,
that would be.
like no kids.
Chris, you're not probably going to want to be part of that show. Chris Beer, you're not going to want to be part of it.
Or you just need to let him know ahead of time.
Motomag is legitimately nuts. You don't realize you got to experience the Motomag at some time.
Well, I really want to try to get it. Do you guys live close to each other by any chance?
He's probably, I don't know where he lives at.
Nobody does.
Not far away because he always come to my house to rail the berm, but who knows how far
Well, if he
away
would come
he
to
is.
his house for Rail the Berm.
I mean,
I don't even know, like, he might live in his truck. There's no telling, like, where Bobby lives. We don't know what he does. Like, Brad would just say, like, someday, Bob's just going to disappear. Like, he's just not going to call, not going to say anything, and 3 weeks are going to go by, and he's not going to show up for the show. We're just going to assume that he's living in Costa Rica or something.
So, Colin, he claims you sold him a shirt that said "Be a Mexican" and you got him arrested.
He would never get arrested. Not for being Mexican. He would get arrested for other stuff.
so what? Well, so is there a possibility if we did an entire 18 and over show that Bobby Sensabaugh could come hang out with you and we do it at your house? You guys hang out there and we bring you on here.
I'd bring him in.
I mean, look.
This wouldn't be the third bedroom, though. This is the fourth bedroom.
Okay, so if need be, in order to make this happen, you can't Amazon beer, can you?
I don't think so. The pantry hasn't quite expanded that
damn
far.
it.
No, I don't think so.
Well, whatever.
But
We'll just
stores, so.
we'll just take some pop bottles back here, and we'll send you guys some money over PayPal or something, so you can go get a 6-pack. But we'll need you to shotgun them bad boys down first before we go on.
In that
I
18
don't
and
know
over
if
show.
Bobby drinks beer, but I know he likes some smoke breaks. You know?
Oh.
What?
Well,
Unacceptable.
whatever, Paul.
Because people don't know, like we record on Monday nights and we get done with the first show. We have like 5-minute breaks in the next show. Right when that first show's over, Bobby's outside. He comes back. It smells like skunks before we start.
You know, it's funny. I'm gonna. Well, this person will remain nameless. I know that same experience. It's typically happen. Pardon me.
Here, let's see if I can make some magic happen and show him that experience.
There's this time we might be on these trips across the state over to the west side, allegedly. To be fair,
we're not naming anybody.
to be fair, allegedly, we're not going to name anybody, but there might be some breaks on the way there for this individual because of it's prescribed, you know.
Bobby says he quit smoking 10 minutes ago.
You know that Bobby Sensabaugh is really good friends with Duke and Neil.
It sounds like it.
And you know what? If we're gonna do this show proper,
we do it.
You need to bring Duke in to the studio. I'll bring Bobby into the studio, and we're really doing up good.
I mean, maybe not. I don't know where Dugan lives. It's going to be close to where we're at, but I can bring him in video. So, that's true. So, what is he going on about? Oh, hey, you got somebody giving you a shout out here. Tell Colin Chicken Wing says, hey.
Chicken wing.
Ron Walker? Ron Walker?
See, I came in a little bit later. You
Sure.
want to talk about Eagle Snacks right there. I came in a little bit later, and I just knew Ronnie Walker as Skywalker.
Yeah, that's what Moto just said.
Yeah, you get that nickname for a reason.
He pedaled with his wings, like his things all whatever. But the first ever pro main event I ever made was a Florida State race, and I passed Chicken Wing at the line to make the main and made him sit out.
Ooh.
So there you go, Chicken Wing, Ronnie Skywalker.
Maybe you and
get help from from David Milham.
Maybe you and Colin can have a grunge match, and we can it could be the race sponsored by, it'll be the first race sponsored by the podcast show.
AARP.
And Colin and Skywalker could race again.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So for those of you in the chat, I got to tell you, I'm sure you're going to go back and check it out, Colin. Bob is keeping it very, very entertaining, to say the least. And if you're listening to the show, you're watching it, and you're not in the chat, please go.
missing out.
This guy, he's on
Bobby said
fire.
he quit smoking 10 minutes ago.
He
so
quit smoking.
That's fake news.
Yeah, and then he also said he's going to put a dress on and win the Trans Grands. I
There we go. Demonetized.
We were demonetized a long time ago. Like YouTube looks at this show and is like, shit. I don't even know what to do with him. Man, the shit he is saying is literally like could be put on a T-shirt. It's just Hey, hang on. Chris.
Trying to do that show and he got axed.
Chris Beer joined. We got to take this shit down to a PG-13. Is that what we agreed on? Everybody say
it's a light 13.
Yeah, everybody say hi to Chris Beers.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, well, Chris, you know what time it is, right, Chris? Welcome, Chris. Wait, there it is, buddy. And if those of you that are watching right now, it's a social time. I know, Colin, you're ready for a social, right?
Oh, Bobby's got one last question though. He wants to know if Colin actually, if he helped Connor Fields win the gold.
What the Did you?
I like to claim that I did, but I had nothing to do with it. But he did get a transit box set from me, so I'm sure that helped out a little bit.
Well, training at its best.
There you go. It is social time. Those of you that are joining us, Chris, get your Dr. Pepper. Chris, you missed Bob Sensabaugh joined us. We're going to do a quick commercial, come right back. We got one more to do. And while we're in the commercial break, for those of you that don't have something right away, make sure you grab it. Where is my Heavy Pedals commercial? There it is. It is social break. We will be right back with Colin and Paul.
Heavy Pedals BMX Zine. Voted #1 BMX zine in the world by Michigan BMX Podcast Show viewers and listeners. Get your copy now. Heavy Pedals is sold locally at Solon Bicycles, Ray's MTB, Reggie's Bike Shop, and globally at heavypedals.com. Make sure you get over to our Facebook page, give us a like and a share, and while you're at it, head on over to our Instagram page at Heavy Pedals BMX.
All right, we are back, and we still got a good group of people on here. Something I wanted to hit real quick was the USA BMX coloring contest. That's going to end at the end of this month, right? So anyone that's doing that, get those coloring. It's like a placemat that they do.
I haven't said I never went and looked. Go onto their website,
yeah,
and you can get the details there.
Dennis,
I never went and looked
share
at
some
it.
more info with us. We don't know, but here at the Michigan BMX Podcast Show, we do have our own coloring contest, and anybody following right now, we have a 14 under. Right? Is that what we made it, Paul? Yeah, 14 under, so. 15 and over.
Yes.
So do your best drawing of the Michigan BMX Podcast Show logo, and we're going to do a little vote on our social media. We're going to pick the best logo. We're going to put that on a T-shirt, and we're going to sell those T-shirts for a fundraiser. Now, the 15 and over winner, you're not getting on a T-shirt, but, we're going to do something for you. It's going to be a good time. Again, we're going to be doing the 14 and under, so you guys are going to get on the T-shirt. We're going to print those off, and that's that'll go off to a fundraiser that we pick, and let's see those. Charlie submitted one. I wish I could put it up here right now. I don't have it. Charlie took the time to literally make a ticket from the police department, and he wrote the Michigan BMX Podcast on it. He even put my address on it and said that we were all getting a ticket because we violated the governor's order. Yeah, I'm blaming that. I'm blaming that shit on Charlie because that almost had almost had Paul ready to call all sorts of lawyers and everything this morning. So
I don't think there was anything funny about that.
No, I do. Holy shit, do I
it was
do?
pretty
Damn
funny.
good forgery, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a masterpiece, to be honest with you.
A.k.a. Charlie, has got definitely a second career in forgery.
Yes, I'm blaming that on Charlie. And I'll get this up here just so you guys can see. But before we were chatting with Colin from Style Industries here and the Transit fame, joining us tonight on our Friday night live show. And I welcome you guys that are in right now. We appreciate you guys joining us this evening, having a good time hanging out with Colin and Paul, our sound guy. He's joining us from Bertucky. And Colin is joining us from the lovely state of Arizona, where it looks like it's still daylight out.
Yeah, we still got a little bit of daylight here. I'm ripping in the Grand Canyon State.
We have adopted your recommendation, if you haven't noticed.
You didn't, or you did?
No, we did. We did.
Well, you just put a tag along, but you're not ripping the mitten, are you? Or you just?
Well, what we did was, so we took.
Which one comes first?
It doesn't matter at this point. So here's what it is. Wednesday night shows are ripping in the mitten. Okay? So you come hang out Wednesday night, we're ripping in the mitten. That is a Michigan BMX podcast show. Friday night, those are our Friday night live show. That's by the Michigan BMX podcast show. See what we did right there? Just change it around a little bit.
You're so creative.
It wasn't me.
Man,
it was this one right here.
Grand Canyon.
And, you know, I appreciate Colin. He sent me a text the other day where he found, what'd that sticker say again?
Oh, dude, it was smitten in the mitten.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've been there before.
What's that?
I said I've been there before. I've been smitten in the mitten.
I
The
would not
first
doubt
bumper
it.
stickers are.
Spitting in the mitten, it's smitten in the mitten.
Smitten.
I mean,
I mean, because dude, delivering, it's crazy the stuff I see, just out there delivering packages, and we're in different parts of the valley. That's what we call this place, the Valley, Phoenix, Arizona. And I saw a sticker that said smitten in the mitten, and I'm like, oh, rip it in the mitten would be better, but I guess you can smit in the mitten too.
Well, just so you know, Colin, the producer.
oh jeez,
Look at.
they're still a work in progress.
There is the die cut for the Michigan podcast show, and she has one that she's made. Where'd that one go? We got one that's the hashtag ripping in the mitten.
I didn't do that one yet.
Oh, she didn't. Oh, you didn't?
Oh no, wait, never mind.
She was learning how when you start using certain fonts, how much you have to weed out. Oh, yeah. All right. So right now I'm going to get this ticket up. There it is. So these are the ones she made for all of us here.
With those amazing Michigan
that are
colors.
on the so these are the ones for those that join the show and are part of it there. So fun times. What were we talking about before we went to commercial break? Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. What Bob Sensabaugh, what's his story? Like, what's his story?
I don't know.
No one does, for real?
I really don't know. Like, I remember coming in,
Pimping
I
in the
met him at
mitten.
the track one time, and he's just off the wall. He's one of those guys that can become your best friend the first time you meet him.
I totally could
Really
believe this.
got a high social IQ, but he bought like Transit Race 1 from me, and then I didn't really see him, and he was talking and doing whatever. And I think we actually talked about Duke and Neil the first time I met him, and going back and forth, you know. And then, so Bradalack is like, hey, man, do you want to come on this Rail the Berm show? I need another host, blah, 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 blah. And we got going on stuff, and he's in there, he's like, yeah, this is Bobby, you know, Motomag's going to be doing this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, who the hell's Bobby Motomag? And then I realized it was Bob Sensabaugh. So that was kind of my first introduction to Bobby Motomag. But I still don't, like I said, one of these days, we're going to be doing Rail the Berm, and Bob's just not going to show up and disappear. He's going to be like that, like Carol Baskin's husband, if you're watching her first husband, if you watch The Tiger King.
Oh,
No,
not yet.
Not yet. Some of us haven't
Yeah,
yet.
it's on our to-dos.
Yeah, everybody was hyping it. I mean, here's the thing, right? I'm a BMXican. I've BMXed
You say, you don't
most
say.
of my adult life. I've spent 3 months living in and out of a van, sleeping on people's couches, getting free food here, crazy stuff. So that doesn't really shock me that much. And everybody's like freaking out over this Tiger King, and I'm like, He's basic, nothing crazy.
Did you just say basic?
You did.
But I do find out people that own big cats are whack jobs.
Yeah, I've heard that. Just generally speaking.
Straight up whack jobs. You got Carol Baskin, she's a whack job. You got Joe Exotic, he's a whack job. Jeff, the other dude, Vegas guy, he's a whack job. The other dude out, the pudgy dude that owns strip clubs, he's a whack job.
Is this all from the show? This is all from the show, right?
Yeah, these guys are all whack jobs. But the movie, like, it built up, and then the end, there was, like, no bang at the end. But I heard there might be a season 2. Now, I'll be psyched if Carol Baskin's husband reappears. And, because they kind of left it open of whether or not she fed her husband to the tigers, whether she killed him.
Oh,
Hey,
what a
don't be
good
giving
idea.
stuff away now.
You watch the show, you'll see it. But everybody in that show is a whack job. And the whole time I'm watching it, they're having all these cubs, and I'm thinking, like, what happens when they become adult tigers? Like,
They're
you
just
gotta keep feeding them. Like, what's going on?
they're
Like,
just
you can't
big ass tigers, like
keep cubs.
Mike Tyson had them. So real quick, I got this pulled up.
See this
That's
preview.
not true. That Mike Tyson did not have a tiger. That was all fabricated from the Hangover people. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm like, wait a minute. And again, a perfect example of it's not what you know,
Media.
it's how you say it. So look, here is the current front runner for the Michigan Podcast logo contest, and this has been submitted by what's her name?
Gretchen.
Gretchen. Yeah, this was submitted by Gretchen, our governor, to the Michigan Podcast Show for the, draw your best Michigan BMX Podcast Show logo. So there you have it. You got it? Yeah.
It's on TV. Dude, there was nothing funny about this. But
Let me have it, Paul. Let me have
I
it.
thought more about it and realized that there was nobody's actual name on it.
It was
kind
kinda
of sick to my
funny.
stomach, worried for a minute because
Oh.
I'm a law-abiding citizen, and like it is what it is, man.
So I put this.
Gay tiger owner?
No. So I put this in our chat that we have for the show here. Like that's where we let everybody know like you're coming on, what time to join. And it took our IT guy Charlie about 3 seconds to figure out this is total bullshit. And then our video guy Jason, he's like he was
about 90%
he was a little
sure it
bit on
was
the
bullshit.
fringe, just a tad on the fringe. He's like, wait a minute. He's like, are you good with Photoshop? That was the message I got from him, and I'm like, no. And Paul literally was like, what the hell's going on here? What is going on here? Yeah, and that was so Charlie commented in our chat. He said, so is this the first
He said Gretchen's the winner.
Gretchen's the winner for the coloring contest for the podcast show. There's our front runner right now. Thank you, Charlie, because I laughed until I almost cried. Oh, man. Do we got any questions? What do we got?
Skywalker says that Alice Bixler is watching.
Alice is watching? Uh-oh.
Who's that, Colin? Fill us in. Don't hold secrets.
Bixler, she is Queen BMX.
All right. Good.
I mean,
Good description.
She is the SSA. She's everything Florida. She's everything BMX. So I gotta dress up and look nice if Alice is watching right now.
Yeah, get your shit together.
Good. Alice, love you. Love you. I know we butted heads a lot throughout the years.
Oh, I know who this is now from just listening to Rail the Berm.
Yeah. I did a whatchamadoozy on her, a Collins Kool-Aid on her.
Yes. Yep.
What doozy?
That's what it's called. Don't judge, Paul. Don't judge.
Well, that seemed like it was veering from the PG.
Yeah. No. Alice is very, very G, very kid friendly. She used Florida BMX. I mean, she's one of the most instrumental people in put it to you this way, right? 2002, ABA was going to purchase the NBL in 2002. Everything's worked out. Everything's going on. Before they make the decision to purchase the NBL, Clayton John, CEO of the ABA, doesn't fly to Ohio. Talking about he flies to Florida to have a sit-down talk with Alice Bixler, basically saying, Alice, we're about to buy the NBL. Are you going to be cool with that? Because if you're not cool with that, we'll pull the plug. Like, that's how powerful Alice Bixler was. That's how anybody found out in 2002 that the ABA was going to purchase the NBL. Because they knew, like, hey, we're about to drop a couple $1 million buying the NBL, and we want to make sure that we'll be able to keep our investment, so we're going to go talk to Alice. And a follow-up story on that, out to the ABA Grands in about 2007, packing up after a long weekend, talking to Kurt from JNR, and Kurt goes, you know, the ABA was going to buy the NBL for a couple $1 million a few years ago. Give them a couple more years, they'll get them for free.
It's like he knew. He was a soothsayer.
Well, he knew because he had dealt with the NBL his whole life, and he's dealt with the ABA, and he sees a 9-day difference, and he's like,
right.
NBL's going down the tubes. And ABA basically got the NBL for nothing. I mean, they paid some money.
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
Pennies on the dollar compared to what they were going to pay in 2002.
All right, so we are rapidly approaching the 10 o'clock hour, and I tell you, I've had a great time, but before we get out of here, I got to bring some trivia your way because you are the 10 terabyte hard drive of BMX knowledge, correct?
Oh, pressure's on now. Pressure's on
All right.
now. We need Danny Booby here. In Australia, yeah, his last name is Booby.
It is, yes. Yep, and those of you that are...
my butt.
Yep.
Unknown pro trivia.
He was, I think, the only one, right?
Yeah, he's the only one. Well, old Nick 09, remix Nick, Skyway Nick, would win.
Skyway.
But it was just because they made the last question worth everything, and he was the lucky guesser. He would just get the ones. But overall, he couldn't hang.
All right, so here's our trivia. Those of you still hanging out with us in the chat, you are welcome to play. We are going to give away absolutely nothing. So,
oh, yeah.
All right, first question. Are you ready? We are talking amateurs, all right? Not pros, amateurs. And we're going to fly over into the NBL section. Amateur number one woman, 1984. Hailing from the Mitten State.
1984, how young?
What do you mean, how young?
Number one girl?
Number one girl.
Tedesco?
Who?
Tedesco?
Oh, she came from Michigan.
Kathy.
Nope. Come on. You're thinking too hard. It's this easy. A recent induction into the USA BMX Hall of Fame.
Skywalker's got an answer too.
Recent induction to the USA BMX Hall of Fame, 1984. Number one amateur girl, woman. Here we go. Are you ready? First name's Debbie.
Well, then none of them got it right.
Debbie Kelso.
Yes, it is. Debbie Kelso, 1984 amateur number one NBL rider.
I was gonna say Debbie Kelso, but I always think of her living out here. But maybe she did live in. I did talk to her.
No, I said she came from Michigan. Well, in ¡84, she still would have been Michigan.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was kind of thinking that, and something was telling me it was her, but I know her. She actually her parents ran the Chandler BMX track for a little while.
Yep.
Back in the.
And they ran the original Lansing track. So we will only do one more Michigan biased question for you. Let me find that one here. Where did she go? Hang on. I think this one will probably be a lot easier for you.
Moto had it.
Who did? Bobby Motomag? Of course he did. I think they might have been on the same team at one point. Something says.
Let's see who else had it right while you're looking. Chris
there was a few.
Had it right.
No, Chris would have.
Jay Kearns had it right.
I
Todd
was actually
said
thinking about Debbie Kelso, but something told me I just think of her as Arizona. But okay, Michigan bias. Come on.
Yeah, and I said it was going to be absolutely. So next rider here, we'll stay in the female category. She hailing from Michigan, actually out of Westland, which has the sweetest pump track in Michigan at the time, had some of the most unique nicknames, such as Swell Mel. She captured the #1 female title in 1991 under the NBL name. Coming from Michigan. You got a guess yet?
Oh, yeah. If you would have said Speed Queen, I would have had it right away.
I knew you would. That's why I backed off. Because that was her other nickname.
Yeah, because I was thinking Melanie Klein. Mel, okay. Cool.
Yeah,
I was thinking
you got it.
Queen. I know her because I watched her interview a bunch of times because she won the Worlds in '87.
Yep.
Had the video of my early transfer.
Yep. I knew you'd.
I was about to say Speed Queen before you started even asking the question.
Yeah, I knew you.
Lots of people had that one.
Yeah, well, Speed Queen is gonna. Yeah. So let me do one more here for you. Here is this one's gonna be the one that might throw you off just a tad. Well, maybe not. So we're gonna go in the general pool, but we're gonna keep it in the OG NBL area. So let's say we're just gonna pick a year and see if you can throw us the name of the pro. This is the pro that won that year. This is the male pro that would have won that year. It's let's say 2004.
04 would have been Transit 5, which would have been Kyle Bennett.
Right on, my man. It's that's why they call him.
I put Kyle Bennett on the cover of that video. A, it was an awesome picture from South Park, and B,
it is. It absolutely is. So
I always have to come back because I did 2 videos a year, but Transit Race 3 was 2003. So I always got to back up to 3 and then 5 and then 7 and then 9. So that would have been 03, 04, 05, 06. But Transit Race 3 just happened to be in 2003.
All right. So we're going to go here. We got, let's go here. So we're going to go back a little ways for you. What do you got? We'll go to, let's say it was a good year, great year at Waterford Oaks this year. 1994, the #1 pro in NBL.
Oh, in the NBL?
Yeah, in the NBL.
Oh, I thought you were getting ready to go Worlds there.
No.
1994. It should have been Big Gear David Milham, but it wasn't. Could have won in his rookie year. It was the Lumberjack. When the Lumberjack was giving away and signing autographs, the Sweet Brothers, which happened before Style Man, were up in the bleachers throwing T-shirts in the crowd. while people were like, hey, Ellis is over there signing autographs, brand new champ. Sweet Brothers throwing T-shirts in the crowd. Kids are fighting over it. They run out of T-shirts to throw out, and the kids wanted more. So Rob and Jeff both took their jerseys off, which was a long-sleeve T-shirt, rubbed it on their underarms, tossed them in the crowd. Kids were drawing blood fighting for those. Now, 1994 Columbus Grand.
All right, real quick, tell everybody what Sweet Brothers is.
It is hard to explain what the Sweet
as quick
Brothers
as we can
was. We were a group of dudes that loved BMX, that didn't care about it and just went to have a good time. And in the NBL 94, 95, 93, we were like the most popular team out there. We were definitely the crowd favorite. And we didn't really have anybody that could win any names except for maybe Jeff Dean. And what we used to do is kids always wanted to be on the team. And we would always mess around with them. And we would ask kids like, hey, this is our question. Hey, can you wear the same pair of underwear for 2 weeks without changing it? And of course, kids would be like, hell no. Well, you can't be on the team. So that year at the Florida State Championship, they always did a highlight. They used to do a highlight slideshow.
Right.
Where they had throughout the year Tom Izor. Remember Tom Izor?
I do. Yep.
Pictures, they do a slideshow with music, and of course, Queen always got played.
What song?
I Want to Ride My Bicycle. Another one, Bites the Dust. We Are the Champions, and We Will Rock You. So Queen always got played every year. But in '94, they did a video.
Oh.
And In the video, they asked the other guy that wanted to be on the Sweet Brothers, they asked him, and actually Spanky Gravenmeyer wrote for the Sweet Brothers on our Florida chapter.
Get out of
before
here.
He got on SBS, going way back. And he was in the background, like a 10-year-old kid. And they asked the guy, like, what would it take? And he goes, can you wear the same pair of underwear for 2 weeks without changing it? And the camera guy, like, shakes the camera back and forth. No. So the next week, that got put up at the award ceremony. The next week, my guy Lewis down in West Palm,
Do you want to get her?
parent comes up to him and is like, dude, you got to help me out. You got to talk to my kid. My 8-year-old kid won't change his underwear. That's how big the Sweet Brothers were. 8-year-old kids like, I'm not changing my underwear because I want to be a Sweet Brother.
All right, so I got a twofer. Are you ready for this one? We're gonna go to ABA. All right. So we're really gonna test the 10 terabyte hard drive. In 1982, the national #1 amateur woman from Michigan. That's the first part of the question. All right. Second part, 2016 national amateur #1 woman, also hailing from Michigan. So 1982, first part. 2016, second part. And let's see the chat light up. And
One of those grands, 2016.
yeah.
Is that Alita Beeman?
Boom!
No.
He brings it with Alita Beeman for the first or the second part.
Yeah, she was in third going last turn.
Yep.
The two other girls, like all three went for the title. They crashed and she
Yep. She's one of Steve Dyer's track there in Lansing. She's one of the locals from there. Shout out to her dad. He ex DJ guy himself.
Jay and
I
Chris
think
both knew
Alita
them.
and I might be Facebook friends. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
She's still killing it right now.
I'm thinking
1982. I have no Jeopardy music to play. This is the U.S. This would be ABA.
Didn't Marla Brady win Girls Cruiser one year?
Well, this is just girls, not cruisers.
Yeah. I give up. I can't tell you 80.
Well, it was a trick question. You answered it already. In 1984, this young lady won in the NBL with the #1 girl. That would be Debbie again.
Debbie Kelso, okay.
Yeah, she won in 82 under the ABA. Now, we'll throw out these here for you. This is we're going to go up to the pro classes for you. And because, you know, as you've said many, many times before, ABA did a hell of a lot better job archiving their stuff than.
Hell yeah.
So, in what year were we? 2009, the last pro #1 cruiser man in ABA.
Yeah, it wasn't Barry Noble.
No.
It was Danny Kellogg. No.
Yes, sir. Danny Kellogg.
Yeah.
Now-
but the thing is, Noble.
You ain't got Google next to you, dude.
Who?
No.
This is why he's a 10 terabyte hard drive. I got to use Google.
Amazing.
No, he
Yeah.
knows this
we
stuff.
had the Danny Kellogg was on a Noah Pro trivia question. I remember it from that. Who was the last ever pro elite women or elite cruiser world champion?
World.
That was a good question. No, for men though.
Oh,
Elite world champion cruiser on the men's side because they did away with the
wait.
class.
Wasn't it? Wasn't that Levesque?
No.
The-
it was
no.
a Brazilian.
Brazilian. Last so that'd be the last world champion men cruiser, pro cruiser.
I think it was like probably 11 or 12.
Yeah. Who do we got? What are they saying?
Craig says Jason Richardson.
Richardson won in '94.
Ooh.
He won at Waterford. That was the first year game. But yeah, it was Renato Resende.
Okay. All
That
right.
was on a no pro question that Bradlack asked me. I'm like,
Man,
I remember
Brad
hearing
goes-
that. I should have remembered it.
Brad goes deep though. He goes way beyond my knowledge base, man.
Well, he researches and does whatever. He doesn't know all that stuff, but
I mean, I got
2007 elite cruiser champion could have been Danny Kellogg, but he got beat by a South American.
in the worlds.
in the World Championship, Victoria, Canada. He's a guy that some people think should have been the 2019 Vet Pro champion.
Vet Pro 2000. Oh no. Oh. Wait. Yeah. He pimped Tyler Brown in the corner. Come on.
Jonathan Suarez. Won in 2007.
Dude, that was a legit move.
Here it comes.
I'm still mad about that.
A lot of people are.
So
I threw a Nerf ball at my TV.
Don't.
I gotta say though, Suarez won like the first 6 races of the year, so
yeah, he did.
Lit a fire under the mosquito's ass.
He was killing it this year. So here's a quick question. 1994. This is for our guy, those still hanging out in our chat with us, and you guys. Colin, you're gonna know this right away. You almost answered it earlier. 1994, Waterford Oaks is home of the World Champions. The pro winner of that, does anyone know who the pro winner rode for? What company did that man ride for?
GT.
Try again. Anybody in our chat yet? 1994 World's Champion in pro class. What bike team did he ride for?
It was GT, wasn't it?
It was not GT.
It wasn't Gary.
It wasn't
I'll tell you
Gary.
an interesting story, right?
Hang on, we got.
Powerlight?
Was it? Who said that?
Jay Kearns.
Kearns got it. It's Powerlight. It was part of the firm, Paul. It was Powerlight. Yeah, I'm sure his check still came from GT.
Tough neck.
What's that?
So
What's that, Colin?
So 1989. I started racing December of '88. I turned expert mid-August of 1989, like 2 weeks before the Grands. I'm like, I got intermediate head. I'm like, screw it. I'll go to the Grands. I can make the main, whatever. You know, not realizing that this is expert. It's a whole new ball game. I was 15 years old. So I read the moto sheet. I'm like, okay, Jody Levis back. He's fast. He'll probably win. I can probably get second behind him. So I'm loading into the staging lane. And there's some dude that looks like a linebacker. Like, pretty stout looking dude in my staging lane. So I roll up to him like, hey, what moto are you in? He goes, 56. And I'm like, oh, damn, that's my moto. Like, I got to race this dude full Robinson gear with Thunder Dan Nelson. That was my introduction to Thunder Dan. I'm like, uh-oh. Also, in that moto, I had Jimmy Levan.
His sister still races. His sister still races, and she's still a ripper.
Yeah, still races, but so it was 89 Grands, and we had 8-man motos. And I remember first moto, I was in like 4th in the first turn and got high-load by 2 dudes, went back to 6th just like that. Like, whoa, that was my wake up to expert call. Second moto, I'm in 7th going second turn. I'm in 8th. Jimmy Levan's in 7th, so he goes high to try to rail, and I picked Jimmy Levan for 7th place in the second moto.
And if those of you that don't know, Jimmy Levan went on to be an amazing street ramp, dirt, anything you put in front of that man. One of the best, probably most prolific video parts ever made was Road Fools, where he jumped the Austin Church Gap, man. Just, if you haven't saw that, it's
actually, they did a video.
They
like,
did.
Yes. They did a Jimmy Levan.
Yep.
What was it called? Like, pedal fast, pull up or something?
Yeah. And because he was in a pretty bad accident, and he's still. I got a couple of friends that are pretty close with him. He's still working his way back to normal from that head injury, but definitely worth checking out the. If you don't own the props videos, go get the first. You gotta own. There's sort of the necessity, much like Colin's transit videos. Get the Road Fools, man. They are just awesome. Great time, good times. But, I hate to wrap it up. We've been on now for 2 hours. Thank you for...
Hour and 15 tops for 2 hours. I could go another 2 hours.
I know. We'll do it again. I wanted to let the people know that did stick through the whole show. We are going to get Debbie on. So we have, I've been talking with her. We're going to get Debbie on here. She's a huge, she's a big time name from Michigan. So we are working to get her on. We're probably going to have to move to a Saturday show. So for those of you that have been saying and messaging and emailing me like, hey, get Debbie on. We are going to get Debbie on. I've been working with her. She works Monday through Friday out in California. So with the time delay, it's really hard to get her on. So we're probably going to do a special Saturday show. I mean, she is a Hall of Famer, so we will do that. And Colin, I want to tell you, thanks so much. Melissa, thanks for running the chat tonight. Our producer. Laura, thank you for setting and being so patient for your ice cream. Paul, I appreciate it. Colin, thank you, and everybody that hung out with us tonight in our chat. You guys make it worth our while. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys soon. Wednesday night, we have our friends over at Magic on, so make sure you're there. Join us Wednesday, 8 o'clock. It's going to be a great show. Again, Colin, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure.
Moto Mag, Bobby Sensible, I better see you in the morning at Mesa Bike Park. Come on.
Bobby.
Well, I mean, he's been chatting this whole time.
He's
saying
killing
lots of
me.
fun stuff. So.
He's killing us in the chat. And again, Bob, thanks for joining us. We're going to get you on real soon, Bobby. We need you on here, man. It's always a good time. Again, thank you, everybody, for joining us. All of you guys at home, thanks again. Colin, one last time, thank you, Paul. Again, thanks, Melissa, everybody.
Thank you. It was nice talking with you, Colin.
Yeah, Paul. Right on.
All right. We're signing out tonight. Don't forget coloring contests. Get them in to the Michigan Podcast Show. Get them in any way you can. Again, we appreciate you guys for joining us this evening. It was our time, our pleasure. We'll see you guys again soon.
Have a good night. Stay safe.
Bye.